IELTS Listening Practice Test 19. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will also have a chance to check your work. All recordings will be played once only. The test is divided into 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. You will hear a man telephoning the customer services manager of a hotel to ask about holding a company conference there. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning, Greenfield Conference Hotel.
Hello, I'd like to ask about hiring your conference facilities. Have I reached the right department?
Yes, you have. I'm the customer services manager. My name's Angela. How may I help?
I'm calling on behalf of Hunter & Mason, a pharmaceutical company based in Perth.
Oh, yes.
We're arranging a professional event for our clients in Sydney. It'll run for 2 days, and we expect around 50 to 60 attendees.
I see. Do you have a date in mind?
Preferably near the end of January, and it would need to be a weekend.
Let me check. The weekend starting January 28th is already booked, but the first weekend of February is still free.
What about January 21st?
Sorry, that date's taken as well.
All right, we'll choose the February option, the weekend beginning the 4th.
Perfect. Now, let me describe the facilities. For lectures and formal presentations, we provide the Tesla room.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Tesla, T-E-S-L-A. It seats up to 100 guests and comes fully equipped with a projector and other presentation tools.
And do you also provide a microphone?
Certainly. There will be one ready at the podium and another portable one for audience questions.
Excellent. We'll also need a spacious area where guests can drink coffee, and we'd like to set up an exhibition of our products.
That's fine. The central atrium is suitable for both coffee breaks and displays. You can access it before the conference if you want to prepare.
That's good. I assume the hotel has free Wi-Fi?
Yes, it's available throughout the building at no extra charge.
Very good. What about food?
We can arrange a buffet lunch, a 2-course meal with several choices.
And the price?
The standard menu is $45 per person. We also have a premium menu, which costs $25 more.
The standard option should be fine. Please send me a copy anyway. Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10. We'll also require accommodation for some participants on the Saturday night, probably about 25 people. What's the cost per room?
For conference groups, we give a 25% discount, so the price would be $135, including breakfast. The usual rate is $180.
That's reasonable, and I suppose guests can use the hotel's facilities too.
Of course. There's a spa offering massages and facials, and a rooftop pool which is very popular.
Lovely. How about transport links?
The hotel is in the city centre. We're about 12 kilometres from the airport, and we provide a free shuttle bus for our guests. It's also only a 10-minute walk from the main train station.
Great. I don't really know Sydney. Where exactly are you located?
We're downtown on Wilby Street. It's a rather small street, quite close to the sea. If your guests want to go out on Saturday evening, there's a wide range of restaurants nearby. And if they'd like to continue the night, there are lots of clubs within walking distance.
That sounds excellent. Could you send me some information about the total costs?
Of course.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 2. You will hear a woman talking to a group of college students about volunteering to help others. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Lucy Grant, and I'm the Programme Coordinator for a local organisation called Helping Hands, which arranges volunteering opportunities for young adults across the region. I'd like to take a few minutes to explain what volunteering involves and, hopefully, convince some of you to take part. Volunteering means giving your time and energy to support people in your community without being paid. Most volunteers offer a few hours a week, although some do more if their schedules allow. The people they help might be families under stress, elderly residents, or individuals facing health problems. Volunteers can be involved in all sorts of activities depending on their skills. For instance, some might do a bit of decorating or painting to brighten up a family's home, especially when they can't afford a professional. Others might look after children for a short time so that parents can attend appointments or simply take a break. Sometimes volunteers also share practical advice, like how to manage a weekly budget or prepare healthy meals. But that depends on each person's background and confidence. Of course, it isn't only the people receiving help who benefit. Volunteers themselves gain a great deal from the experience. It gives them a chance to apply their abilities in a real situation and can be a valuable part of their CV when they look for jobs later on. Employers often appreciate people who show initiative and compassion through voluntary work, and perhaps most importantly, many volunteers say that what they do gives them a sense of purpose, a reason to get up and feel useful every day. It can genuinely make life more meaningful, and that's something money can't buy.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
I'd like to share a few stories from our current volunteers so you can get a clearer idea of what they actually do. Amira, for example, spends an afternoon each week with a group of elderly people who live in a nearby care home. She brings in old photographs and music from their younger days, and she says it's wonderful watching them remember happy moments from the past. Then there's Peter, who works with a small rehabilitation group for adults recovering from injuries. He used to be a personal trainer, so he designs light exercises to help them regain their physical strength and stay positive. Lena volunteers to visit a man who has severe anxiety and rarely leaves his flat. They go for short walks, or sometimes just have coffee at a nearby cafe, and slowly he's become more confident about meeting other people. It's helped him escape his isolation. Rosa helps an older woman who used to be a teacher but found retirement quite lonely. Rosa introduced her to sewing, and now she spends hours making little fabric animals for her grandchildren. It's lovely to see someone discover a new hobby at that age. Matteo supports a family facing several financial and emotional problems. Instead of doing things for them, he calmly talks through their difficulties and helps them plan possible solutions. Over time, they've learned to solve issues independently, rather than waiting for outside help. And finally, Grace volunteers with a teenage girl who has learning difficulties and struggled to talk to others. Grace uses games and role-play activities to build her confidence, and now the girl can communicate much more clearly with both friends and teachers. Those are just a few examples of the ways volunteers can make a real difference. Even small acts of kindness, when done consistently, can change someone's life for the better.
That is the end of Section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 3. You will hear a trainee music teacher named Ben talking to his supervisor Clara about the school marching band that he is now responsible for. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
So, Ben, how are things going with your school placement so far?
It's been great overall, though I've just been given charge of the school's marching band, and that's quite a challenge. I'd like to discuss it with you.
Sure, go ahead. Maybe start by giving me a bit of background.
Well, the band includes students from every year group aged between 11 and 18, and there are about 50 members altogether.
That's quite a number.
Yes, and it's one of the school's most popular clubs. I've never managed a band with more than 20 players before, so this is a very different experience.
I can imagine.
They're not really ready for national level competitions, but they'll be taking part in a regional one later this term. Even if they don't win, I think it'll push them to improve.
That sounds positive.
Also, the local council is arranging a carnival in the summer, and the band's been invited to perform there. Honestly, I don't think they're quite ready yet, so I need to help them work together more effectively in the next few weeks.
Have you been doing anything new with them, apart from rehearsing the music?
Yes, actually, I played them a recording I found of a drummer giving a talk about how playing in a band had completely changed his life. It was really moving. He said joining the band kept him away from trouble when he was younger. The students seemed to enjoy it too.
That's a great approach.
I'm also planning to show them an old film called March On Together from the 1940s. It's all about a school band, and I'll discuss it with them afterwards.
Excellent idea. It could help them see what's possible when everyone works as a team.
Exactly, and I'm hoping to take some of the group to a parade next month. There'll be a couple of marching bands performing, so it should be quite inspiring for them. If I can get the school to hire a coach for us, that is.
Sounds like you've got a good plan.
Thanks.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Can I tell you about a few of the students I'm finding difficult to handle? Maybe you can give me some advice?
Of course.
First, there's a flautist who keeps saying how much she enjoys being in the band, but she rarely turns up. We rehearse twice a week after school, and she's absent most of the time. Then the next day, she always finds me and gives a believable excuse. She says she was helping her mum or that she was unwell, but honestly, I don't buy it.
Oh dear. Anyone else causing problems?
Quite a few. There's a trumpet player who believes she's the most talented one there. Though she really isn't. She's always giving her opinion about what others should do, which makes things awkward for me.
She sounds tricky to manage.
You can say that again. Then there's one trombone player who's got a great sense of rhythm and could be amazing, except he's got some breathing issues. He just can't hold notes long enough for that instrument. He'd be far better on percussion, but he refuses to change, so he ends up missing half the notes.
Well, at least he's persistent.
True. And one of the percussionists is fine musically, but he never really talks to anyone and always rushes off right after rehearsal. I'm not sure if it's family problems or something else, but it's not good for team spirit. And there are others as well, but those are the main ones. Do you have any thoughts on how I can handle them?
Let's see what we can work out together.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about the history of weather forecasting. First, you will have some time to look at questions 31 to 34.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 34.
In this lecture series on the development of weather prediction, I'd like to begin with its very early stages, which will be our focus today. If we look back thousands of years, we find that almost every civilization had its own weather gods. Catastrophic events such as great floods often appeared in their myths of how the world was created. In general, people thought the climate was controlled by divine powers, as shown by the range of weather deities that existed. For example, the Egyptian god of the sun, Ra, and Thor, the Norse god of thunder. To influence these gods, many communities performed rituals, particularly dances, in the hope of winning favorable conditions. But weather was not simply a religious matter. It was vital for survival. People had to watch the sky closely and interpret signs correctly. Their very survival depended on it. Although it is difficult to say exactly when these practices began, by about 650 BC, the Babylonians were already making short-term forecasts by studying the appearance of clouds and other signs. Similarly, the Chinese noticed recurring weather patterns, and by 300 BC, they had produced a calendar with 24 festivals, each linked to particular seasonal conditions. The Greeks were the first people to attempt a more reasoned explanation of the weather. In the 4th century BC, the philosopher Aristotle wrote about the formation of wind, rain, and storms, and also described various astronomical effects, including halos and comets. Some of his insights were correct, such as recognizing evaporation, but he also reached false conclusions, for instance, that the Earth itself exhaled the winds. Still, his ideas were accepted for almost 2 millennia. During the Middle Ages, his theories remained influential, while at the same time ordinary people passed down weather sayings, often connected with the color of the sky. Many of these sayings have turned out to be surprisingly accurate according to modern meteorologists. By the 15th century, scholars had realized they needed more precise ways of recording atmospheric conditions. The importance of instruments became clear, and soon new devices were invented. Galileo, for example, created the first reliable thermometer in 1592, and later his student Torricelli produced the barometer. Pascal then demonstrated that air pressure falls as altitude increases, and his discovery was later confirmed by Halley, who also charted the trade winds. Progress continued. In the 18th century, Benjamin Franklin, famous for his experiments with lightning, was also deeply engaged in studying the weather, and he showed that storms generally move west to east. By the mid-19th century, with the invention of the telegraph, it became possible to share local records across wide distances, and this led to the creation of the first official forecasting services. Only in the 20th century did meteorology become firmly grounded in mathematics and physics. That brings us to the end of this section of the lecture.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.